Hi, James from NCC here. In this video series, we will be covering questions and answers for both the Core 1, the 1101, and the Core 2, 1102 exams. Candidates must complete both the 1101 and 1102 exam to earn the CompTIA A+ certification. The CompTIA A+ 220-1101 exam focuses on mobile devices, networking technology, hardware, virtualization, and cloud computing. The CompTIA A+ 220-1102 exam covers topics operating systems, security, software, and operational procedures. While this video series can significantly improve your chance of passing the exam, we strongly recommend starting with a structured course, either self-paced or instructor-led. This approach will help you better understand each topic and its relevance, providing the big picture perspective required in the workplace. Now, instead of strictly following a traditional exam domains, we take a more organized approach that aligns with the flow of a structured course. This way, after completing a chapter or topic, you can effectively assess your understanding using questions that closely resemble those you'll encounter on the exam. If you have not subscribed yet, please do so now. Hit the bell icon to get notifications when new questions and content is uploaded. Right, let's start off with troubleshooting and safety. Very first question here says, after restarting their computer, a user encounters a single beep followed by an error message on the display. Which of the following would most likely cause this situation to occur? A, bad RAM module. B, hard drive failure. C, graphic card issue. Or D, incorrect boot order. Correct answer here, incorrect boot order. A single beep typically indicates a successful post, but an incorrect boot order could prevent the system from locating the OS. Incorrect answers, the bad RAM module. Now, bad RAM often causes multiple beeps or a failure to boot entirely. Hard drive failure, a hard drive failure could cause similar issues, but a misconfigured boot order is the likeliest and simplest explanation. A graphics card issue would likely prevent the display from working rather than producing an error message. Question 2. A user reboots a machine. On rebooting, the user hears one beep and then an error message is displayed. Which of the following are most likely causing this issue? Select 2. RAM module, graphics card, CPU, boot order, USB flash drive, or power supply. Correct answers, boot order, USB flash drive. Now, if a computer beeps once, which typically indicates, like we said previously, a successful post, but then displays an error message, it often points to an issue with the boot process rather than a hardware failure or critical component like RAM, CPU, or graphics card. Common causes would typically be your boot order. If the boot order is misconfigured, the system may try to boot from a non-bootable device, leading to an error message. USB flash drive. Now, if a USB flash drive is inserted and the system attempts to boot from it but fails, especially if it's not bootable or non-bootable, an error message can appear. Removing the USB or adjusting the boot order can resolve this issue. Incorrect answers, RAM module. Like the previous question, a faulty RAM module usually results in multiple beeps or no post, and it typically doesn't allow the system to proceed to a boot error message. Graphics card, a graphic card's issue would more likely result in no display output, not an error message after post. CPU or CPU failure usually results in a complete inability to boot, often without even reaching the post stage. Power supply, the power supply issue often causes the system not to power on or shut down unexpectedly rather than generating a single beep followed by a boot error. Question 3. After diagnosing a problem on a workstation, gathering information from the user, and securing a system backup, what is the technician's subsequent step in the troubleshooting process? Implement the solution, document findings, contact vendor support, establish a theory of probable cause. Correct answer, establish a theory of probable cause. After gathering information, the technician should establish a theory to hypothesize the cause of the issue before further action. Incorrect answers, implement the solution. Implementing a solution comes after forming and testing a theory. Document findings. Documentation is typically done after the issue is resolved. Contacting the vendor support. This may not be necessary unless the issue remains unresolved after testing your theories. Question 4. A technician identified an issue on a workstation, obtained details from the user, and made a backup of the system. Which of the following should the technician do next? Determine the next step to resolve the issue and document it. Design a plan of action to resolve the issue and implement the solution. Document the findings, actions, and outcomes. Establish a theory of probable cause, researching internally or externally as needed. Correct answer, establishing a theory of probable cause, researching internally or externally as needed. After identifying the issue, gathering information from the user, and making a backup, the technician's next step in the troubleshooting process is to establish a theory of probable cause. This involves analyzing the symptoms and details gathered to hypothesize what might be causing the problem using internal or external resources if necessary. Incorrect answers. Determine the next step to resolve the issue and document it. Now this step would come after establishing a probable cause and confirming the root of the issue. Design a plan of action to resolve the issue and implement the solution. Now before creating a plan of action, the technician should first develop and test a theory of what is causing the issue. Document the findings, actions, and outcomes. Now documentation of findings, actions, and outcomes is typically one of the final steps after the issue is resolved, not immediately after identifying the issue. Question 5. A technician is diagnosing an older desktop computer that is experiencing a random Windows BSOD followed by intermittent shutdowns. After determining that temperature readings for the system are normal, what is the next step the technician should take? Examine the motherboard for swollen capacitors, reinstall the OS, replace the RAM, run a malware scan. Answer, examine the motherboard for swollen capacitors. Now, swollen or leaking capacitors are a common cause of BSODs, or blue screen of death, and shutdowns in aging hardware. Incorrect answers, reinstall the OS. This wouldn't solve hardware issues related to capacitors. Replace the RAM. RAM may cause BSODs, but it wouldn't explain shutdowns unless visibly damaged. A malware scan. Malware is unlikely to cause a hardware-related symptom like a swollen capacitor. Question 6. A technician is troubleshooting an old desktop system that randomly shows a Windows BSOD or power off unexpectedly. All system temperatures are within normal limits. Which of the following should the technician do next? Visually inspect the motherboard capacitors, verify all case fans are operational, check that the BIOS versions support the installed CPU, compare the software requirements with the installed RAM. Correct answer, visually inspect the motherboard capacitors. Like the previous question, if the desktop system is experiencing random BSODs, a power off event, and temperatures are normal, it's possible that failing capacitors on the motherboard could be causing instability. Swollen, leaking, or bulging capacitors are a common issue in older systems and can lead to unpredictable system crashes and power offs. Incorrect answers. Verify all case fans are operational. While this is a good step for managing system temperature, the technician has already confirmed that all temperatures are within normal limits, so fan issues are unlikely to be the cause. Check that the BIOS versions support the installed CPU. This could cause compatibility issues or errors if the BIOS is outdated, but it's less likely to cause random power offs or a BSOD if the system was previously stable. Compare the software requirements with the installed RAM. Now, insufficient RAM could lead to performance issues, but it would not cause a sudden power off or a BSOD. Question 7. A technician is troubleshooting a computer that has an intermittent problem with a projector. The technician suspects the video cable is the cause and replaces the cable with a known good cable. But the problem persists. What is the appropriate next step for the technician to take? Replace the projector? Research the issue further and establish a new theory to test? Replace the graphics card? Update video drivers? Correct answer, research the issue further and establish a new theory to test. Since replacing the cable didn't fix the issue, further research and testing are needed to identify the cause. Incorrect answers, replacing the projector. Now the projector may not be the issue and shouldn't be replaced without further investigation. The graphics card, this is premature without more information on the problem. Update video drivers. While drivers could be relevant, testing other theories first is recommended. Question 8. A technician is troubleshooting intermittent fuzzy video on a computer using a VGA to DisplayPort adapter to connect to a monitor. The monitor with a VGA connector was previously working fine for another user. The technician replaces the monitor, however the issue persists. Which of the following should the technician do next? Use another brand of VGA to DisplayPort adapter. Research the issue further and formulate a new hypothesis to test. Ask the user additional clarifying questions regarding the issue. Document the action taken and the outcome. Correct answer, research the issue further and formulate a new hypothesis to test. Since replacing the VGA to DisplayPort adapter did not resolve the issue, the technician should research the issue further and develop a new hypothesis. This approach allows the technician to consider other potential causes, such as compatibility issues, cable quality, or display settings, and plan the next step for troubleshooting. Incorrect answers. Use another brand of VGA to DisplayPort adapter. Since the adapter was already replaced, trying a different brand is unlikely to address the issue unless there's a known compatibility issue with the adapter type. Further research can help determine if this is the case. Ask the user additional clarifying questions regarding the issue. This could help if there were ambiguity. But if the problem is clearly related to video quality with the adapter, further research into possible technical issues is a more direct next step. Document the action taken and the outcome. While documentation is important, it should be done after the issue is resolved or if the action taken led to a change in the outcome. At this point, further investigation is still required. Question 9. A technician suspects a desktop computer's malfunction is due to a faulty power supply unit. What should be the technician's next troubleshooting step? Replace the power supply. Conduct research based on the symptoms to test the theory. Reboot the computer. Test the power outlet. Correct answer: conduct research based on the symptoms to test the theory. After suspecting a cause, researching symptoms to confirm or test the power supply theory is part of a systematic troubleshooting process. Incorrect answers: replace the power supply. Replacing the PSU without confirming it's the issue could be wasteful. Reboot the computer. Restarting won't resolve or confirm PSU failure. Test the power outlet. If other devices are working, it's unlikely the outlet is the issue. Question 10. A help desk technician thinks a desktop PC has failed due to a defective power supply. Which of the following steps should the technician take next? Inquire about environmental or infrastructure change. Conduct external or internal research based on symptoms. Establish a plan of action to resolve the problem and implement the solution. Document the findings, actions, and outcomes. The answer: conduct external or internal research based on symptoms. Once the technician suspects that the power supply is defective, the next step is to research and verify the symptoms to confirm the diagnosis. This may involve consulting internal documentation, external resources, or conducting further tests to ensure the issue is actually identified before proceeding with a resolution. Incorrect answers: inquire about environmental or infrastructure change. This step is part of the initial information gathering phase, which should already have been done or completed. The technician should now focus on verifying the suspected cause. Establish a plan of action to resolve the problem and implement the solution. Before creating and implementing a plan of action, the technician should confirm the diagnosis to avoid unnecessary actions. Last, document the findings, actions, and outcomes. Documentation is typically done after the problem has been resolved, not during the diagnostic phase. Question 11. During a burn-in test, a workstation shuts down without warning. What is the most probable reason for this occurrence? A power supply failure, memory corruption, overheating, or a network error? Answer: overheating. A burn-in test puts heavy load on components, often causing overheating if cooling isn't adequate. Incorrect answers: a power supply failure, possible, but overheating is more likely under intense load. Memory corruption, memory issues may cause crashes, but typically not sudden shutdowns. A network error, network issues wouldn't cause the system to shut down unexpectedly. Question 12. When replacing RAM in a server equipped with a redundant power supply, which of the following options would best prevent damage due to electrostatic discharge? Power off the system, use a grounding mat, use a grounding strap, wear latex gloves. Answer: using a grounding strap. A grounding strap helps dissipate static electricity, reducing the risk of ESD damage during installation. Incorrect. Power off the system. It is necessary but doesn't protect against ESD. Using a grounding mat effective but less direct than a grounding strap. Wearing latex gloves don't protect against ESD effectively. Question 13. What is the most probable cause for a monitor to display an issue with a pink hue even after a technician has replaced a video card and updated the graphics driver? Graphic card failure, power supply issue, faulty display driver, physical cable issue. Answer: a physical cable issue. A loose or damaged cable can distort colors, often causing a pink or green hue. Incorrect answers: graphics card failure. This is unlikely if the card was replaced. Power supply issue. Power issues would likely cause shutdowns, not color distortion. Faulty display driver. A driver issue were addressed by updating. Question 14. Which of the following troubleshooting steps should a technician take first if a desktop computer will not power on? Test the motherboard. Check the power cord. Replace the CPU. Verify the power outlet functionality. Correct answer: verify the power outlet functionality. Checking the outlet ensures power is reaching the computer and is an easy first step. Incorrect answers: test the motherboard. Testing the motherboard is time consuming and should come later. Check the power cord. Cord issues are possible, but verifying the outlet is simpler and quick. Replace the CPU. CPU replacement is unnecessary unless diagnosed as the cause. Question 15. A user's laptop screen occasionally flickers when moved. What is the most likely cause of this issue? A faulty display driver, overheating GPU, loose display cable, outdated BIOS. Correct answer: a loose display cable. Moving the laptop can disrupt a loose display cable, causing flickering. Incorrect answers: a faulty display driver. Drivers wouldn't cause flickering when the screen is moved. Low battery. Battery power doesn't affect display flickering. Screen resolution settings. Resolution settings wouldn't cause physical flickering. Question 16. An employee's computer keeps resetting the system clock after being powered off. What is the most likely cause? A faulty power supply, damaged hard drive, incorrect BIOS settings, or a dead CMOS battery? Answer: a dead CMOS battery. The CMOS, or complementary metal oxide semiconductor, battery powers the BIOS memory, which stores the system clock and BIOS settings when the computer is turned off. If the CMOS battery is dead, the computer loses its time and date settings whenever it powers down, causing the clock to reset on each startup. Incorrect answers: a faulty power supply. While a faulty power supply can lead to shutdowns and power issues, it wouldn't specifically cause the system clock to reset after being powered off. Damaged hard drive. A hard drive issue might affect data storage and retrieval, but wouldn't impact the system clock or BIOS settings. Incorrect BIOS settings. Now, incorrect BIOS settings might cause various performance issues, but wouldn't typically result in the clock resetting repeatedly unless the CMOS battery is failing. Question 17. A user's computer screen has a blue hue even after adjusting the display settings. What is the most likely cause? A faulty graphics card, a loose or damaged cable, outdated drivers, BIOS settings. Correct answer there, a loose or damaged cable. A loose or damaged cable connecting the computer to the monitor is a common cause of color distortion, such as a blue hue. When pins or connections are loose or damaged, certain color signals may not transmit correctly, resulting in a color imbalance on the display. Resecuring or replacing the cable can often resolve the issue. Faulty graphics card. While a graphics card issue can sometimes cause display problems, it is less likely to manifest solely as a color tint issue without other symptoms, such as screen artifacts or performance issues. Outdated driver. Now, outdated drivers can impact display quality or resolution, but are unlikely to cause a specific color hue problem. BIOS settings generally don't affect the color as they don't control specific screen output or color configuration. Question 18. What is the most likely cause for a computer to suddenly shut down while performing high processing tasks such as gaming or video rendering? An outdated operating system, insufficient RAM, a faulty hard drive, or overheating? Correct answer, overheating. Overheating is a common cause of sudden shutdowns during high processing tasks, which generate significant heat. Components like the CPU and GPU can reach high temperatures while gaming or rendering videos. If the cooling system, such as the fans or heatsinks, cannot dissipate this heat effectively, the system may shut down to prevent hardware damage. Ensuring adequate cooling can help prevent these shutdowns. Incorrect answers, outdated operating system. Now, an outdated operating system may cause performance issues or software incompatibilities, but is unlikely to cause sudden shutdowns. Insufficient RAM. Now, insufficient RAM can lead to a slower performance or freezing, but doesn't usually cause shutdowns. Instead, the system may use virtual memory on the hard drive. Faulty hard drive. Now, faulty hard drive may cause data loss or file errors, but would not directly cause the computer to shut down during high processing tasks. Question 19. A technician receives a complaint from a user suspecting a virus infection on their computer. What should be the first step taken by the technician to address the concern? Run an antivirus scan, disconnect the computer from the network, gather information about the symptoms, restart the computer. Correct answer, gather information about the symptoms. Now, the first step in troubleshooting is to gather information from the user regarding the specific symptoms they are experiencing. This helps the technician understand the nature and scope of the issue, similar to the diagnostic assessment, and can reveal clues about whether the problem is indeed virus-related or due to another cause. Incorrect answers, run an antivirus scan. Running a scan is useful, but should be done after understanding the symptom to ensure the appropriate diagnostic action are taken. Disconnect the computer from the network. Disconnecting can help prevent potential spread if a virus is present, but it's generally done after confirming a virus threat. Restart the computer. Restarting might clear minor issues, but does not address the underlying cause or provide insight into the symptoms. Question 20. Which of the following is the safest way to replace RAM on a server that has a redundant power supply? Unplug one power cable. Verify the RAM temperature. Utilize a grounding strap. replace the RAM while the server is running. Correct answer, utilize a grounding strap. Using a grounding strap or anti-static wrist strap is the safest way to replace RAM on any device, including a server. It protects sensitive electronic components from static electricity, which can cause damage to the RAM or other internal components during handling. Incorrect answers: unplug one power cable. While unplugging a power cable may reduce power risk, servers with redundant power supplies still have active components powered by the other supply. Proper grounding and powering down are more critical. Verify the RAM temperature. Ensuring the RAM is not hot may be helpful, but does not prevent static electricity damage, which is the primary concern during RAM replacement. Replace the RAM while the server is running. This is unsafe for most servers unless they specifically support hot swappable memory, which is rare. Replacing RAM on a running system risks hardware damage and data loss. Question 21. A technician responds to a help desk ticket that indicates a user's workstation is not booting. The technician initially suspects a failed hard drive. The technician performs diagnostics and confirms the hard drive is fully operational. Which of the following steps should the technician complete next? Reinstall the operating system. Configure a new RAID array. Report the status of the drive and close the ticket. Consider another possible cause of the issue. Restore the latest backup of the system. Correct answer, consider another possible cause of the issue. Since the technician has confirmed that the hard drive is fully operational, the next step should be to consider another possible cause of the issue. A non-booting workstation could be caused by a variety of factors, such as corrupt boot files, malfunctioning motherboard, issue with the boot order in the BIOS UEFI, faulty RAM, or even a power issue. The technician needs to rule out other possibilities and continue troubleshooting to find the root cause. Incorrect answers: reinstall the operating system. Now, reinstalling the operating system might be necessary if the system files are corrupted, but before doing so, the technicians should explore all other potential causes of the issue to avoid unnecessarily reinstallation. Configure a new RAID array. If the workstation isn't using RAID, this step would not be relevant. Additionally, creating a new RAID array would be unnecessary unless the technician specifically finds that the RAID configuration is the cause of the issue. Report the status of the drive and close the ticket. Closing the ticket prematurely would be inappropriate since the issue is not resolved yet and the technician has only ruled out the hard drive as the cause. Restore the latest backup of the system. Restoring a backup might be needed if the issue is related to corrupted data, but this would typically occur after identifying the root cause of the issue and confirming that it is related to data corruption or loss. Question 22. A user is unable to access the internet on a PC. Technician examines the PC and runs the following commands: ipconfig/all, ping 8.8.8.8, and ping comptia.org. Which of the following steps in the troubleshooting process does this series of commands represent? Establish a theory, verify full system functionality, establish a plan of action, identifying the problem. Correct answer, identify the problem. A series of commands listed, the ipconfig/all, ping 8.8.8.8, and ping CompTIA.org are steps that help in diagnosing the current state of the system's network connectivity. These commands allow the technician to gather information about the network settings using the ipconfig/all, check if the computer can reach the internet by pinging a known good address, 8.8.8.8, which is Google's public DNS server, and test DNS resolution by pinging a domain like CompTIA.org. These actions are aimed at identifying where the problem lies. Specifically, ipconfig/all gives details about IP address configuration. Ping 8.8.8.8 tests connectivity to an external IP address to see if there is a network connection. Ping CompTIA.org checks if DNS resolution is working. This step directly corresponds to the process of identifying the problem. Is there a network connection? Is it a DNS issue? Is the IP address configured correctly? Incorrect answers: establish a theory. In troubleshooting, you establish a theory based on symptoms or facts, then verify it by testing. The actions taken here are to gather data rather than to make a theory about what might be wrong. The theory would come after performing the diagnostic steps. B, verify full system functionality. Verifying full system functionality involves ensuring that all aspects of the system are working, including hardware, software, networking. This would come after identifying the problem, in the form of fixing the issue and ensuring everything functions as expected. The listed commands are part of identifying the issue, not verifying functionality. Establish a plan of action. A plan of action comes after identifying the problem. It involves deciding what steps to take to resolve the issue. The commands here are part of the identifying process, not resolution or planning phase. Question 23. A technician received a help desk ticket from a user who is unable to browse the internet. Which of the following troubleshooting steps should the technician perform first? Establish a plan of action, document the findings, test the theory, identify the problem. Correct answer: identify the problem. Identifying the problem is the correct answer because it's the initial step in the troubleshooting process. Before taking any further action, the technician must first gather information from the user, understanding the symptoms, and try to determine exactly what the issue is. This involves asking the user questions, checking any reported error messages, and observe the situation firsthand if possible. The technician needs to determine whether it's an isolated issue or if others are experiencing the same problem, which could indicate a larger network issue. Incorrect answers: establish a plan of action. This step comes later in the troubleshooting process, after the technician has identified the problem and tested their theory of probable cause. The plan of action is developed to resolve the problem once the cause is known. Without identifying the issue, there is no basis for creating a plan of action. Document the findings. It's one of the final steps of the troubleshooting process. Once the technician has successfully resolved the problem, they need to document what was found and what actions were taken to fix it. This step ensures that the knowledge gained can be used for future reference. It's not practical to document anything before the problem has been clearly identified and resolved. Test the theory. This step comes after identifying the problem and forming a hypothesis about the potential cause. The technician needs to have a theory first before they can test it, which requires identifying the problem initially. Testing a theory too early without first defining the issue could lead to unnecessary steps or misdiagnosis of the problem. Question 24. What is the first step in the CompTIA troubleshooting methodology? establish a theory of probable cause, test the theory to determine the cause, establish a plan of action, identify the problem. Correct answer, identify the problem. Identifying the problem is the first step in the CompTIA troubleshooting methodology. The troubleshooting process starts with identifying and understanding what the issue is. This involves talking to the user, observing symptoms, gathering relevant information to clearly define the problem. Without knowing what the problem is, it's impossible to proceed logically through the troubleshooting process. Incorrect answers: establish a theory of probable cause. This is the second step in the CompTIA troubleshooting methodology. Once the problem has been identified, the technician should try to establish a probable cause to consider, or by considering potential reasons that could be behind the problem. This comes after the problem has been identified. Test the theory to determine the cause. This is the third step in the CompTIA troubleshooting process. After establishing a theory of probable cause, the technician will test this theory to determine whether it actually explains the problem. It cannot be the first step, as it requires having a clear theory about what might be wrong, which requires first identifying the problem. Establish a plan of action. This step comes later in the process, after the technician has tested their theory and determined the exact cause of the problem. The plan of action is formulated to solve the issues based on the findings of the previous step. Establishing a plan of action before the problem is understood would not be effective. Question 25. What is the third step in the CompTIA troubleshooting methodology? Establish a plan of action to resolve the problem and implement the solution. Test the theory to determine the cause. Document findings, actions and outcomes. Verify full system functionality and, if applicable, implement preventative measures. The answer: test the theory to determine the cause. Testing the theory to determine the cause is the third step in the CompTIA troubleshooting methodology. After identifying the problem, step 1, and establishing a theory of probable cause, step 2, the technician should proceed by testing that theory and confirm whether it correctly identifies the root cause of the issue. This step is essential because it validates the theory and helps guide the technician towards appropriate solution. Incorrect answers: establish a plan of action to resolve the problem and implement the solution. This is the fourth step in the CompTIA troubleshooting methodology. After testing the theory and determining the actual cause of the problem, the technician then develops and implements a plan of action to resolve the issue. This cannot be done until the theory is tested and confirmed. Document findings, actions, and outcomes. This is the seventh step and final step in the troubleshooting process. Once the problem has been resolved and the solution verified, the technician documents all the findings and actions and outcomes. This documentation is important for future reference, but is completed after the solution has been successfully implemented. Verify full system functionality and, if applicable, implement preventative measures. This is the sixth step in the troubleshooting process. After implementing the solution, the technician should verify that the system is fully functional and ensure that the problem has been completely resolved. If needed, they may also implement preventative measures to avoid similar issues in the future. This comes after the cause has been identified and a solution applied. Question 26. The client PC cannot power on. After verifying the power supply, what should you check next? Replace the power supply. Pull the CMOS battery and try again. Replace the memory. Check the power connections to the motherboard. Correct answer: check the power connections to the motherboard. Check the power connections to the motherboard is the correct next step after verifying the power supply. If the power supply itself is functioning properly, it is important to ensure that it is correctly connected to the motherboard. A loose or improperly connected power cable between the power supply and the motherboard can prevent the system from powering on. Therefore, verifying that all power connections are secure is a logical step in troubleshooting a PC that will not power on. Incorrect answers, replacing the power supply, should only be done if you have confirmed it is faulty. Since the question states that the power supply was or has already been verified as functional, there is no need to replace it. Proceeding to replace the power supply would be unnecessary and could waste time and resources. Pull the CMOS battery and try again. Pulling the CMOS battery is typically used to reset the BIOS, which might help resolve issues such as incorrect boot configuration. However, if the PC is not powering on at all, this is not likely to solve the problem. If there is no power to the system, the root issue is more likely related to power delivery rather than BIOS settings. Replace the memory. Memory or RAM issues can lead to errors or cause the system to fail to boot, but they generally will not prevent the PC from powering on at all. If the system is completely dead with no power, checking the power connections is more appropriate before considering any hardware replacements like the memory. Question 27. What step in CompTIA troubleshooting methodology involves establishing a theory of probable cause? Identify the problem, establish a theory of probable cause, test the theory to determine the cause, establish a plan of action. Answer is pretty obvious. Establish a theory of probable cause. Establish a theory of probable cause is explicitly the step in the CompTIA troubleshooting methodology that involves determining possible reasons for the issue based on the symptoms observed. In this step, the technician considers various reasons that could potentially cause the identified problem. This is the second step in the overall CompTIA troubleshooting process. Incorrect answers, identify the problem. It's the first step in the troubleshooting methodology. It involves gathering information, talking to the user, observing the symptoms to clearly define what the problem is. This step precedes establishing a theory because it is necessary to understand the problem before theorizing any or about its cause. Test the theory to determine the cause. This is the third step in the troubleshooting methodology. After a theory is established, the technician tests it to see if it actually explains the problem. This step comes after establishing a theory, making it impossible to happen simultaneously. Establish a plan of action. It's the fourth step in the troubleshooting methodology. Once the technician has tested and confirmed the theory of the probable cause, they then establish a plan of action to resolve the problem. This cannot be done until a theory is first established and confirmed. Question 28. What is the first step to troubleshoot a network issue? Identify the problem, establish a theory of probable cause, test the theory, implement the solution. Correct answer, identify the problem. Identify the problem is the first step in troubleshooting in any issue, including a network problem. The initial step involves gathering relevant information to fully understand what the issue is. This could include talking to the user, experiencing the problem, asking questions about the symptoms, observing error messages, and identifying exactly what part of the network is affected. This step sets the foundation for all subsequent troubleshooting actions by clearly defining the problem. Incorrect answers, establish a theory of probable cause. This is the second step in the troubleshooting process. Once the problem has been identified, the technician will then establish a theory regarding the probable cause. Without first identifying the problem, it's not possible to create a meaningful theory about its cause. Test the theory, the third step in the troubleshooting methodology. After forming a theory of probable cause, the technician must test this theory to determine if it accurately explains the issue. Testing a theory without understanding the problem would be ineffective, making it inappropriate as the first step. Implement the solution. This step comes later in the process, after the problem has been identified, a probable cause has been established, and the theory has been tested. Implementing a solution without first understanding the problem or the cause would not be effective, or logical first action resolve the problem. This cannot be done until a theory is first established and confirmed. Question 29. What should you do first when troubleshooting a computer that won't boot? Check the power supply. Verify BIOS settings. Run a hardware diagnostic tool. Replace the hard drive. Correct answer, check the power supply. Check the power supply is the correct first step when troubleshooting a computer that won't boot, because power issues are among the most common reasons why a computer may fail to start. Without power, no other component can function, and the system won't respond at all. Checking that the power supply is working, that the power cable is connected securely, and that the power supply is functioning properly are fundamental initial checks that can quickly rule out or confirm the most basic cause of a failure to boot. Incorrect answers: verify BIOS settings. If a computer fails to boot completely, they won't be able to access the BIOS settings. Checking the BIOS only makes sense once power has been confirmed and the computer at least starts to boot. Therefore, this step should come later if the machine turns on but fails to load the operating system. Run a hardware diagnostic tool. Running a hardware diagnostic tool is only possible if the computer can power on and boot at least to some extent. If the computer doesn't power on at all, running diagnostics is not an option. First, you need to confirm that power is getting to the system and that it can power on. Replace the hard drive. Now, replacing the hard drive is an action that might be considered if there's an evidence that the hard drive has failed, such as repeated error messages during boot. However, it would be impractical to jump to replacing components without first ruling out simpler causes, such as a lack of power. Moreover, even if the hard drive is faulty, that typically wouldn't prevent all power to the computer, meaning the system should at least start to power on, showing a BIOS message. For instance, this makes replacing the hard drive an incorrect first action. Question number 30. What is the best practice when replacing components inside a computer? Turn off the power supply. Disconnect power and ground yourself. Only turn off the monitor. Leave the computer plugged in for grounding. Correct answer: disconnect power, ground yourself. Disconnect power and ground yourself is the correct answers because it is a crucial safety step when working with internal components. Here's why. Disconnect power before opening the case and working inside. It is critical to disconnect the power source. It prevents accidental electric shock and reduces the risk of damage to sensitive components due to short circuits. Ground yourself when working inside a computer. Grounding yourself helps to prevent ESD or electrostatic discharge, which can damage internal components like memory modules or processors. Using an anti-static wrist strap, touching a grounded metal surface, or otherwise ensuring that you discharge static electricity helps to protect the hardware. This is a key best practice when handling any internal computer parts. Incorrect answers: turn off the power supply. Simply turning off the power supply or switch at the back of the computer is not enough. The power supply can still have residual power, and simply turning it off does not completely cut off electricity to the system. It is important to fully disconnect the power by unplugging the power cord to eliminate any risk of electrical shock. Only turn off the monitor. Turning off the monitor is irrelevant when replacing components inside the computer. The monitor being on or off has no impact on the safety or the power inside the system unit. This is not a best practice when working with internal computer components. Leave the computer plugged in for grounding. Leaving the computer plugged in as a method of grounding can be very dangerous. Even if the computer is powered off, residual power can still be present, which poses a risk of electric shock. Disconnecting the power cable entirely is the safest way to ensure that there is no power running to the internal components. Proper grounding should be achieved through an anti-static wrist strap connected to a metal part of the case or other safe grounding method. Question 31. Which of the following should be checked first when a computer exhibits slow performance? Hard drive space, RAM usage, CPU temperature, network connectivity. Correct answer: RAM usage. RAM usage should be checked first when a computer exhibits slow performance, because insufficient overused RAM is one of the most common causes of a computer running slowly. If the available memory is low, or if too many applications are using the memory, it can lead to sluggish response times and overall slow performance. Checking RAM usage will help determine if the computer needs more RAM, if there are unnecessary programs running, or if a memory hogging process is causing the slowdown. Incorrect answers: hard drive space. Low hard drive space can contribute to slow performance, particularly if the system drive is almost full and there isn't enough space for virtual memory or paging. However, checking hard drive space should come after confirming that the RAM is not the primary bottleneck, as RAM issues are more commonly associated with immediate performance problems. Now, typically, if RAM is being overused, the system will also heavily rely on virtual memory, which could also be a problem. CPU temperature. Now, high CPU temperature can lead to slow performance, particularly if the CPU is throttling to avoid overheating. However, this would generally be checked if there are signs of thermal issues, such as the computer shutting down unexpectedly or feeling unnecessarily hot. It's not the first thing to check unless there's other indications that overheating is an issue, like fan noise or physical heat from the system. Network connectivity affects the performance of internet-related tasks, such as browsing or accessing online services, but it doesn't affect the overall system performance, such as opening local files or running software. Slow performance in general, like delays in running software or navigating the operating system, isn't primarily related to network issues, making it an unlikely first thing to check in this scenario. Question 32. What should be done if a computer display is blue screen error? Replace the hard drive. Reinstall the operating system. Check for hardware conflicts or failure. Update the graphics driver. Correct answer: check for hardware conflicts or failure. Check for hardware conflicts or failure is the best first step when a computer display is blue or displays a blue screen error, commonly known as a blue screen of death or a BSOD. A BSOD typically indicates a serious hardware or software problem that caused the system to crash. By checking for hardware conflicts and failures, you can diagnose whether faulty hardware, drivers, or incompatibilities are the root cause of the issue. This is an effective troubleshooting step before making any drastic change to the system. Incorrect answers: Placing the hard drive in a drastic, or replacing the hard drive is a drastic measure that should not be done or in response to a blue screen error. While a failing hard drive could be a possible cause of a BSOD, you would first need to confirm this through diagnosis. There are many potential reasons for a BSOD, including a driver conflict, memory issue, power supply problems, so it's important to identify the specific cause before replacing any hardware. Reinstalling the operating system, also a drastic step that should only be considered after other troubleshooting methods have been exhausted. A BSOD may often be caused by a specific hardware issue, a driver conflict, or recent software change, all of which should be investigated before taking the time-consuming action of reinstalling the OS. Additionally, reinstalling the OS can lead to data loss if not properly backed up. Updating the graphics driver could help if the BSOD is specifically related to display issues or a known graphics driver bug. However, this is only one potential cause, and focusing solely on a graphics driver could overlook other possible problems. It is better to first check for hardware conflicts or failures to understand the full picture and pinpoint the cause. Question 33. Which of the following should be the first step in troubleshooting a network issue? Change hardware, identify the problem, test the network connection, check network documentation. Correct answer, identify the problem. Identifying the problem is the correct first step when troubleshooting any network issue. This is also the first step in the CompTIA troubleshooting methodology. Identifying the problem involves gathering information from the affected users, observing the symptoms, determining the scope of the problem. It is essential to understand what specifically is going wrong, whether it's a connectivity issue, a specific network segment, a certain user is affected, and helps in directing subsequent troubleshooting actions. Incorrect answers. Changing hardware should never be the first step. Replacing hardware without knowing the actual problem is inefficient and may lead to replacing components that are functioning properly. It's important to first understand what is wrong before making changes to physical components, which can be time-consuming and costly. Test the network connection is an important step, but it comes after identifying the problem. For example, if a user cannot connect to the internet, you need to first gather information. Is this affecting only one user? Are other devices working on the network? Without identifying the specifics of the issue, performing tests may be unfocused and inefficient. Checking network documentation. It is useful for understanding the network layout, IP address scheme, and more, but this should not be the very first step. It is more practical after identifying what the problem is. For instance, if a specific device cannot connect, checking the network documentation might help understand where in the network that device is located. But first, we need to understand the issue by identifying the problem. Question 34. Which of the following is a common symptom of overheating in a computer? Slow internet speed, random shutdowns, low hard drive space, inability to connect to the Wi-Fi. Correct answer, random shutdowns. Now, random shutdowns are a common symptom of overheating in a computer. When components such as the CPU or GPU overheat, the symptom or system will often shut down unexpectedly to protect itself from damage. Now, this kind of shutdown is typically abrupt, without warning, and can occur when the system is under heavy load or in an environment with poor ventilation. The shutdown is a safety measure designed to prevent hardware damage that could occur due to excessive heat. Incorrect answers. Slow internet speed is generally not related to overheating. This symptom is usually tied to issues such as network congestion, poor connection, router problems, or even IP or ISP related issues. Overheating in a computer wouldn't directly impact the speed of the internet connection. Low hard drive space is not a system or symptom of overheating. While low hard drive space can cause performance issues, it has nothing to do with temperature of the computer components. This issue typically results in problems like slow system performance, difficulty saving files, or application crashes due to insufficient space. Inability to connect to the Wi-Fi could be due to network adapter issues, incorrect network settings, or router problems, but it's not related to the system overheating. Now, overheating typically impacts hardware stability, system functionality, not network connectivity. Question 35. What is the most likely cause of a computer not displaying anything on the screen after booting? Power supply failure, bad hard drive, faulty graphics card, corrupt operating system. Correct answer, a faulty graphics card. Now, a faulty graphics card is the most likely cause when a computer is not displaying anything on the screen after booting. The graphics card, also known as the video card, is responsible for rendering images to the display. If the graphics card is faulty, the computer may power on, fans spinning, LEDs lit, but nothing will appear on the monitor. This issue could be due to a hardware failure, a loose connection between the graphics card and the motherboard, or a malfunction in the GPU itself. Incorrect answers: if the power supply has failed, the computer will not power on at all. Typically, you would not see any lights, hear any fans, or notice any activity if the power supply is the issue. Since the question states that the computer is attempting to boot but isn't displaying anything, the power supply is less likely to be the direct cause of the display issue. A bad hard drive can cause issues with the operating system not loading or data loss, but it will not prevent the computer from displaying anything on the screen during the initial boot. Even with a bad hard drive, the system would typically still show the initial post, power on self-test screen, or the BIOS UEFI setup information before attempting to load the OS. Corrupt operating system could prevent the computer from booting successfully, but again, this usually happens after the initial display of the BIOS or manufacturer's logo. The screen would show something at first, typically the boot sequence or error message. If the screen remains completely blank throughout the entire boot process, this indicates a hardware issue, such as a problem with the graphics card, rather than the OS. Question 36. What is a common symptom of a failing power supply? Slow hard drive performance, random shutdowns and restarts, high CPU usage, no display on the monitor. Correct answer, random shutdowns or restarts. Now, random shutdowns or restarts are a common symptom of a failing power supply. When a power supply is failing or unable to provide adequate power, the computer may randomly shut down or restart. This happens because the component do not receive consistent or sufficient power, causing the system to lose stability. A failing power supply can also cause other unpredictable behavior, but sudden shutdowns or restarts are among the most typical symptoms. Incorrect answers: slow hard drive performance is generally not directly related to a failing power supply. Hard drive performance issues are more commonly associated with disk error, fragmentation, outdated drivers, or a failing hard drive itself. The power supply would need to fail in a very specific way to impact only the hard drive's speed, which is not common. High CPU usage is typically caused by demanding software, too many running applications, malware, or background processes, not by a failing power supply. Power supply issue is unlikely to directly increase CPU usage, though unstable power can lead to other symptoms like crashes or restarts. High CPU usage should be investigated by checking running processes rather than looking at the power supply. No display on the motherboard could be caused by a variety of issues, such as a faulty graphics card, loose display cable, or even a monitor problem, while a power supply issue could theoretically cause this, it would typically be part of the broader symptom, such as no power to the entire system, not an isolated display issue. If the power supply is failing, you'd likely notice other systems like no power at all or random shutdowns rather than just a blank screen. Question 37. Now, which of the following is a symptom of a failing power supply? Similar question than previous. Random shutdowns and restarts, overheating of the CPU, inability to connect to the internet, corrupted files. Correct answer, random shutdowns and restarts. Random shutdowns, restarts, key symptoms to a failing power supply. When a power supply begins to fail, it can no longer provide stable voltage, adequate power to the system components. This lack of consistent power can cause the computer to shut down or restart unpredictably. As the power fluctuations impact the stability of the components, these unexpected shutdowns or restarts are one of the most common signs that a power supply is no longer functioning properly. Incorrect answers: overheating of the CPU, again generally caused by issues like inadequate cooling, thermal paste problems, or malfunctioning fans. Failing power supply might indirectly contribute to overheating if it affects the cooling fans, but typically CPU overheating is related to cooling issues rather than a power supply's fault. It's not the primary symptom to look for when diagnosing a failing power supply. Inability to connect to the internet is usually a symptom of a network problem, including issues with the router, network interface card, cables, or internet settings. A failing power supply is unlikely to directly affect the network connectivity unless it is causing the entire system to behave erratically. Network connectivity issues are more often related to configuration problems or hardware specifically related to networking. Corrupted files can occur for a variety of reasons, such as improper system shutdowns, failing storage devices, or storage or software itself. Now, while a failing power supply might lead to improper shutdowns that could eventually result in corrupted files, this is not the primary symptom. File corruption would be an indirect effect rather than a direct sign of a power supply failure. Question 38. Which of the following should you do if a computer is not powering on? Check the power supply connections, reinstall the operating system, replace the motherboard, increase the RAM. Correct answer, check the power supply connections. Check the power supply connections is the first step to take if a computer is not powering on. Many power on issues are caused by loose or improperly connected cables. Ensuring that the power supply is securely connected to both the motherboard and the wall outlet can quickly resolve power-related issues. Checking connections also includes verifying that the power switch on the power supply is turned on and that there are no issues with the power strip or outlet being used. Incorrect answers: reinstalling the operating system is not relevant if the computer is not powering on at all. If the system does not receive power, it cannot reach the stage where an OS reinstall would make a difference. This step is related to a software level problem after the system has successfully booted. Replacing the motherboard is a drastic, expensive action that should only be taken after other potential problems have been ruled out, including checking the power supply, the connections, and other hardware components. It is not the first step you take when a computer is not powering on, and there are many similar issues like a loose connection or a faulty power supply that could be responsible. Increasing the RAM is not applicable when a computer is not powering on. Adding or changing RAM will not help if the power is not reaching the system. RAM is typically a concern for performance issues or a failure to boot into the operating system, not for power on failures. Question 39. What is a common system of overheating in a computer? Slow data transfer speeds, random shutdowns or system crashes, low battery life, frequent pop-up ads. Random shutdowns or system crashes. Random shutdowns or system crashes are a common symptom of overheating in a computer. When a computer's components such as the CPU or GPU become too hot, the system will often force a shutdown to prevent hardware damage. Overheating can also cause the system to freeze or crash, leading to a blue screen or a complete reboot. It is a protective measure to ensure that hardware is not damaged by excessive heat. Incorrect answers. A slow data transfer speed can be caused by issues like outdated drivers, poor connectivity, failing hard drives or software bottlenecks. While overheating could impact the overall performance of the system, slow data transfer speeds are not a direct symptom of overheating. Random shutdowns are a more immediate response to high temperatures than slowing down data transfers. Low battery life is typically related to battery health, power management settings, or having too many power-hungry applications running simultaneously. It's not directly linked to overheating, although an overheating system might cause increased power consumption. However, overheating does not directly manifest as low battery life. Rather, it's more likely to cause system instability or shutdowns. Frequent pop-up ads are typically caused by malware or unwanted adware programs installed on the computer. They are not a symptom of overheating. Pop-up ads are a software issue and have no direct connection to the physical temperature of a computer. Question 40. What is the common symptom of a failing power supply? Inability to connect to the Wi-Fi, random shutdowns and reboots, slow hard drive performance, high CPU usage. Correct answer, same as previous, random shutdowns and or reboots. Random shutdowns or reboots are a common system of a failing power supply. When the power supply cannot provide stable or sufficient power, it can cause the computer to shut down or reboot unexpectedly. This happens because the power supply is no longer able to maintain the necessary voltage or current required by the system components, leading to sudden power loss or instability. This kind of system is one of the most indicative signs of a failing or underperforming power supply. Incorrect answers. Inability to connect to the Wi-Fi is typically a network-related issue. It could be caused by issues with the router, network adapter, Wi-Fi settings, or the interface. Failing power supply generally does not affect specific components such as the Wi-Fi adapter without also causing more general and significant issues like complete system instability. Slow hard drive performance is more related to a failing hard drive, fragmentation, insufficient RAM, or an overworked CPU. It can also be due to software issues like outdated drivers. A power supply issue could theoretically cause performance issues if power delivery fluctuates, but it's not a primary symptom, especially when dealing with just the hard drive's performance. The power supply affects the entire system, not just one component. High CPU usage is typically caused by demanding applications, too many processes running simultaneously, or malware. It is not directly related to a failing power supply. While unstable power can cause unexpected reboots or system instability, it does not cause the CPU to work harder on its own. High CPU usage usually indicates a software or process issue rather than a power supply issue. Question 41. A user is unable to access the internet on a PC. Technician examines the PC and runs the following commands. ipconfig/all, ping 8.8.8.8, ping comptia.org. Which of the following steps in the troubleshooting process does this series of commands represent? Establish a theory, verify full system functionality, establish a plan of action, identify the problem. Correct answer, identify the problem. This series of commands is part of the identify the problem step in the troubleshooting process. Here's the breakdown and why. First, ipconfig/all. This command displays the PC's network configuration, including the IP address, subnet mask, default gateway, and DNS server. This step helps identify whether the PC has a valid IP address and whether it is connected to the correct network. Ping 8.8.8.8. Now this command pings a known external server, in this case Google's DNS server, which helps check if the PC can reach the internet. If the ping is successful, it indicates that the PC has network connectivity and the issue might be with DNS resolution. If unsuccessful, it indicates a connectivity problem between the PC and the router or the gateway. Ping comptia.org. This command checks DNS functionality by trying to resolve a domain name to an IP address. If the ping works, but the previous one did not, it suggests a DNS issue. Together, these commands help the technician gather information about the network configuration, connectivity, DNS resolution, which helps in identifying the root cause of the issue. Incorrect answers, establish a theory. And in this step, the technician would come up with potential causes for the issue. The actions listed in the question are diagnostic steps, not theoretical steps. Verify full system functionality. This step would involve ensuring the system as a whole is working as expected. This includes checking if hardware and software are functioning correctly, but the commands listed are specifically network-related diagnostics. Establish a plan of action. Now, after identifying the problem, the technician would come up with a plan to resolve the issue. The commands in the question are diagnostic, do not represent the formulation of a resolution plan. Now that brings us to the end of this video. Please join us for the next video, still covering the 1101, which is the hardware module, motherboards and CPUs. See you next time. Please remember to like, subscribe,